Welcome to another episode of The Wealth Defenders with Terry Cox. Consumer advocate Bruce Rosenblum here with you as well. It's the show about financial planning, making sure your money is working for you, and also making sure that you have the retirement of your dreams. Terry, what's new in your world?
Oh, man, we're just doing some retirement planning with all of our clients, just staying on top of the latest trends and making it happen for everyone.
It's never a dull moment, is it?
Never.
Well, talking about retirement planning, it's simple but not easy. That's how we typically describe it. And on the show today, we've actually outlined some important steps that people out there do not want to miss. So, Terry, tell me a bit about some of these steps that people need to dig into to make sure their retirement is totally squared away here.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, number one, you have to remember to be kind to yourself. You need to know that financial planning, it can be complex, it can be detailed. So we just need to get started and get you rolling down that path. And we can explain things as we go along.
I like that. Being kind to yourself. It's key because it's not just about money. It's making sure that you have the means to enjoy your retirement as well and making sure it aligns with your values and your personal goals.
Absolutely. Because it's different for everybody. You know, people are in different stages of their life. They're just getting started. They're in the middle. They're approaching retirement. So their life changes, right? So we need to stay on top of their plan, make sure that they're doing what they need to be doing at that moment in time, just to make sure that they're on track and they're going to make it to retirement safely and on time.
Now, what's an example of the wrong way to do this? Because we talk a lot about the right way. What's what you should not do here?
Well, you shouldn't be gambling. You know, you shouldn't be taking advice from somebody at the office that has a hot stock tip of the week.
Sure.
You know, yeah. When you're doing that, you're just trying to throw some money on the table, see if it's going to grow. You know, hit a home run first time at the plate. That's pretty much gambling. That's not really financial planning.
Ooh, now this plays into our next tip here. It's pay future you first.
Yes, absolutely. And sometimes that can be challenging, especially if you're getting started and you're not used to saving on a consistent basis. If you're working for someone who offers a retirement plan through your employment, absolutely jump on that because that's out of sight, out of mind. Money comes out of your check. It's deferred before your check ever makes it to your hands, and you're saving right out of the gate.
So you need to maximize your contributions there if you've got that option available to you.
Yes, absolutely. And some of those plans are going to have matching contributions from your employer, which is free money. And you want to make sure that you take advantage of that. Absolutely.
But let's say you got some folks out there, they can't make that maximum contribution. What advice would you give to them? How would you help them?
You know, whatever you can start with. You know, we have some people in our office that they've opened IRAs or Roth IRAs. And they're throwing $25, $50 a month in. But you just got to get into the habit of doing it and have some advice along the way. Because whether you're just getting started, you're in the middle of your career, things are different. Not all investments are created equal. And there's investments that you want to plug in at different stages of your saving career as well.
Ooh, now there's a timeline here. That's very clear. And that leads us to our next point here. It's start saving early and also be consistent. Tell us a bit about that point and why it's so important.
Well, the earlier you start, the longer your runway is. Let's say you're just getting started. You're 23 years old, 25 years old. You've got your first job. You've got 30 to 40 years to go before you retire. So start putting some money in now. You can, if you've got that much runway, you can afford to be a little aggressive right up front. And that's going to set you on a path that it's going to become automatic. You know, once you're starting to put whatever that dollar amount is that you're putting into the plan, just get it going. And the more time that you can put on your side, the better off you are, because the market's going to go through highs, it's going to go through lows, and you want to be prepared for all of those and take advantage of whatever the market's giving you at that time.
Now, what about those of us out there who are coming to this party late and they're late in the game here? What advice would you give to them so that they can catch up?
Yes, absolutely. It's never too late to start. You know, once you get started, but once you hit age 50, these retirement plans will give you a catch-up contribution, and depending on the type of plan it is, will dictate the amount of money that they allow you to kick in for your catch-up contribution. But work with a professional. Get some advice, learn where you're at and what's going to work for you. Because like I said earlier, not every investment is created equal. Some are just growth oriented, some are income oriented, and some are a combination of both. So we need to get to know the individual, what their comfort level with risk is, and how to plug them into each one of these investments that they're getting into.
Are there any specific investments that you recommend for certain parts in this process?
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. In the very beginning, you can afford to take on some more risk. You can be more growth oriented because, if you take your money to the bank and you're earning, 2 or 3% on interest, if you're lucky, you can do much better than that over time by being in a growth oriented vehicle. And as you move along, you're not just going to be invested in one thing, because we can't get rid of risk altogether, but we can continue to push it away. But if we've got mutual fund number one, we'll put some money in that for a while. Then we add mutual fund number two, maybe a stock here, a stock there. Now that's what we call diversification. And that's how you get yourself diversified. And that's how you can handle anything that the market might throw at you.
Seems like this is really crucial to understand. Don't just rely on one thing, be it Social Security or a pension or a 401k. Have multiple things going so that if one of them happens to fail, you're going to be okay.
That is correct. And these days, not a lot of companies offer the pension plans anymore. The employee has to self-fund the retirement. So there are ways that you can create your own personal pension as well. And that's why it's great to talk with a professional, because at some point you want to plug a piece like that in to make sure that when you step into retirement, you've got income that's gonna cover you and that you're not going to outlive.
I like that. And this leads us to our next point here. Smart investing beats saving on its own.
Absolutely. Because like we were just mentioning, over the last 2 years, the Federal Reserve has been raising interest rates. So the interest rates on the savings accounts was pretty decent. Now they're cutting rates. Now those rates are going back down. So not as attractive anymore. But if you get into something that's going to grow over time, maybe it's going to pay you a dividend. Some companies with their stock issues, they pay you dividends on a quarterly basis. So like a little bonus for owning their stock. So there are ways that you can leverage your dollars to buy things that you don't ever have to sell, but they're going to pay you continually. So you want to have some of that in your portfolio as you get towards that retirement age as well.
Now, let me ask you, what's your outlook on this Fed stuff? Because it seems like people, they don't account for that. And more importantly, they don't account for inflation in their retirement plans.
Yes. Or taxes. Those are some big considerations. Because as you're saving, if you're in a qualified plan through work, you've got your 401k or your 403, whatever it may be, you're putting your dollars in pre-tax, right? So then now you're going to be taxed on the way out. So there's not as much money in that account as you think there is, because your Uncle Sam is going to be standing there with his hand out wanting his share when you take money out of that retirement plan. So that's going to eat into it. Inflation's going to eat into it. So you need to, even though we go into an income-oriented philosophy with retirement, as you get into retirement, you're still going to need a growth component, because you're going to still need some money growing for you to, take on inflation and taxes.
Something that will offset that inflation, because in all likelihood, it could continue to rise.
Absolutely, it could. Yes.
And that leads us to our next point here. It's to understand your expenses, because you really have to know what you're dealing with here so you can plan for the worst.
Absolutely. Just like you have your budget while you're working, you're going to have a retirement budget, and you need to think about how much money you're making now. How much money will you be making in retirement? What will your expenses in retirement look like? Are you still going to have a house payment? Are you still going to have a car payment? All of this goes into our planning aspect as we're sitting down with our clients and walking them through this process.
And wouldn't you say it's more critical than ever to do this because people are living longer these days? Mm-hmm. And there are some folks out there, they will be retired for as long as they've been working. So you've got to know how much it's going to cost you, and you got to plan all the way to the end here, wherever that may be.
That's right. That's right. And that's why those personal pension plans that we talked about earlier are so crucial, because they will pay you indefinitely. You know, depending on, because sometimes when you get into these different financial situations, sometimes a company might reduce its dividend that it's paying on the stock payment. You don't want to have that happen to you in retirement. If you're planning on this income and a company gets in trouble and they have to reduce their dividend, that reduces your income. So if we can plug some personal pension money in there, things that are not going to reduce, and it's going to continue to pay you, and you can count on that money, you're going to need that. You're going to need that plugged in as well.
Ooh, absolutely. And I think that's a nice segue into our next tip here. It's don't turn down free money. It's good advice.
Don't turn down free money. Absolutely. If they're paying you a matching contribution, you want to take advantage of that.
Sure.
Put in the full amount that you can to get that matching contribution, because that's money that's going into your retirement plan that you didn't pull out of your pocket or your paycheck. So that's pretty nice.
See, these are all very safe and prudent tips here, but I know there are people out there that they're on Robinhood. They're on that app. They want to do the trading. They want to get on that GameStop money. And that's playing into our next tip here. Don't try to time the market. Tell us a bit about why that's a bad idea.
Because you can't time the market. You know, just when you think you've got it figured out, something, because we only know what we know, right? We know information today. We don't know tomorrow's information. And how many times do we wake up tomorrow and something has happened that has affected the stock market? You know, you can do all your planning and all your due diligence and think you're making a great play, but if something comes out of the blue that affects the market, so it's not really timing the market, it's time in the market. So get in, and that kind of leads me to another point where you really have to answer your why question. You know, if you know why you're making this investment in the first place, if you're not just trying to get rich quick, this is a plan, then you don't have to worry about timing the market. Because, you know, if for example, if you're still working, let's say you got 10 years to go,
okay,
and you're buying these dividend paying investments, the market goes down, and your dividends are reinvesting, and they're buying more shares. Well, you're buying these shares at a discounted price, which and you get paid off of the number of shares that you own. So now your share base is building, which means your income base is building, and that's happening in a down market. So don't try to time the market. Don't be afraid of it. Just come up with a plan, get in it, and start running it.
Now, you've seen so many clients and you've helped so many people. Have you ever encountered somebody who actually did beat the market?
No. It's very rare. It's very rare. You know, maybe they bought, Tesla or, one of those high flying stocks on a good dip, and, they made 30 or 40% in a year, but that's an anomaly. So
it goes back to what the advice you gave earlier. Don't gamble, because it's essentially gambling right there.
That's right. That's right. So.
Well, we don't want to gamble at all here. In fact, we want people to have the right type of advice, and I know they can get it from you. How can they get in touch with you?
Well, you know what? This is very important. This is very important stuff that we're talking about, and it's available to everybody. It really is. So if what we've talked about today resonates with you and you want to sit down and talk, our consultations are free. Every week we set aside a few appointments for our viewers to call in, schedule some time with us, and let's get this working for you. Let's find out where you're at. Let's find out where you want to be, and let's get you going.
Absolutely. Number's going to be on the screen. To everybody out there, make sure you like, comment, and subscribe. This is the Wealth Defenders, covering the important topics to make sure your money is right every single week. For the Wealth Defenders, Bruce Rosenblum, Terry Cox signing out. We'll see you on the next one.